The most recent Jeremy Swayman contract update is absolutely ridiculous, and this needs to stop. The report reveals that Jeremy Swayman is asking upwards of $10 million on his next contract, and this is one that Bruins fans have a lot to say about. So I'm going to be breaking down what we know from this most recent report, and just a lot of stuff that goes along with this that will be very important for this contract. So you're going to want to make sure to stick around, find out what we have to say in this video. Before we get into it, though, we notice that 70% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. If you're looking for a spot to get all of your Boston Bruins news, including this very big upcoming Jeremy Swayman contract extension, you're in the right spot. Hit the sub button. Join me here on this channel as we cover everything Bruins related. And we're almost at 4K, and that would mean the world to me if we could hit that before the season starts. But as I mentioned, let's get into the first and mainly the big topic here in this video, which is this unfathomable contract that we're going to see likely. I don't want to say it's going to be this price, but we're definitely going to see a price upwards of what Bruins fans are kind of asking for and what we want to see. But I'm going to pull up the first screenshot here where all of this sparked from, and this comes from the Bruins Benders podcast with Rich Keefe, and says that Jeremy Swayman is asking for $10 million per season from the Boston Bruins. Now, a lot of reports came out about this saying that this might not be true, this is ridiculous, this cannot be the case, the Bruins can simply not afford it. All of those are correct. We don't want to see something $10 million. Not saying that Jeremy Swayman isn't deserving of that, but just not yet, as I've mentioned before. And I will once again go deeper into this, but looking at this contract, and one that we've kind of seen before, the number 10 million around Jeremy Swayman's name, and that was really the higher end and the very unlikely option. But now that we're having reports coming out saying Jeremy Swayman is asking for this, a lot of people are starting to get a bit concerned about why this contract is going so long and why the Bruins are kind of thinking about that $10 million number, because that's not one that we normally see come from a goalie at this age yet, and let alone other NHL goalies. And I will pull up the contracts of the top goalies in the NHL. As you can see right now, Carey Price, Sergei Bobrovsky, Andrei Vasilevsky, and Connor Hellebuyck top that list. And when you're looking at $10 million and up, you're only seeing two. Carey Price, who's obviously been injured, for the past few years, but one of the best goalies of all time, as much as you hate to say it, you cannot deny that. Sergei Bobrovsky winning the cup last year, deserving of that contract now, and showing that that contract is paying out for, well, in this case, the Florida Panthers, but likely for whatever team he would have been on. And Vasilevsky and Connor Hellebuyck, two of the best goalies in recent history, and once again, less than 10 million. That's the big factor there. Less than 10 million at the caliber they are, and only 30 years old and 31 years old for those respectively. So Jeremy Swayman asking for this number really leads to a few things. We know the cap will go up over the next few seasons. We know that he's very young, but asking for that for a goalie who has not been over 50 games as a starter is still a bit concerning. And I'm going to pull up this the quote here from Rich Keefe on the podcast. Says Jeremy Swayman looking for $10 million a year. That is the scoop I have. He's looking for $10 million a year. So I think that a lot of speculation was if he gets the $8 million, that makes him the sixth highest paid goalie. But from what I'm led to believe, he would like $10 million per season. So going to see that again, the $8 million, kind of what the speculation was from us, analysts, reporters, critics, fans. Everybody was really thinking that Jeremy Swayman would like to take a little bit less off the contract to be able to fit it into the Bruins cap space, as well as just kind of give them some help over the next few seasons. But from what we see, it's not the case. And once again, I will put the screenshot back up again. You can see the numbers here from some of the top goalies in the NHL and what kind of contract we will see in comparison to a lot of these goalies. But from the youngest goalie here, we can see Igor Shesterkin and Ilya Sorokin, two goalies who really were late bloomers in the NHL, and this is going to be their first real big contract. And those were recently signed, so having Igor Shesterkin at a very, very good price for the current cap hit of 5.6 and Ilya Sorokin of 8.25, those are numbers that you kind of expect to see in a goalie that caliber with that play style and whatnot. But 10 million is quite a high number. And let's move on to our next screenshot here too, which is kind of leading into this whole situation as well, is that the Bruins only have 8.6 million in cap space. And that's one thing that is going to be a bit of an issue if Jeremy Swayman is asking $10 million plus. Something will have to be done before the start of the season to make that contract fit in the Bruins system. And once again, all speculation that it will be 10 million. There's nothing confirmed. Nobody has really spoken out about it in the Bruins organization. Jeremy Swayman, his agent, the Bruins themselves, Don Sweeney, nothing like that has been spoken aloud yet. So we can't say that this is for sure the case. But with this contract situation, you'd have to think the Bruins and Don Sweeney are kind of putting it out there that this really will not help the team over however long this contract will be. Whether it is 5 to 8 years in that term with $10 million on the table, that really limits the Bruins to what they can do with that money to be able to help Jeremy Swayman. So you have to think that that is in the mind of the Bruins and using that as kind of a card in their negotiations for this contract. And with that, we've seen some additions this offseason that will help the team. If that contract is signed by Jeremy Swayman to make that quite a bit of money, we know the cap's going up, but still, that's going to be a big chunk of your ability to help build the better team to get to a Stanley Cup final and ultimately win a Stanley Cup. That's going to diminish that quite a bit. So that's one thing I think that we need to take a look at. And I have another screenshot here. I know this one is kind of a bit weird, but this one comes from Steve Dangle. And I know that he's a Leafs fan and all that kind of stuff, but he has a point here. And I mean, for what it's worth, take it with this. But believe it or not, 10 million is actually the average cap hit of the last 3 goalies to eliminate the Leafs before Swayman. Bobrovsky at 10 million, Vasilevsky at 9.5, and Carey Price at 10.5. Steve Dangle here, the big part of that at the bottom, says he's earned it in my opinion. And I absolutely agree. We can see a contract like that be in the cards, but as I've mentioned in this video, in many other videos where I'm discussing Jeremy Swayman, he is capable of reaching that point and earning $10 million, but just not yet. I don't think that right now is the appropriate time, just until we see a full-time starting goalie season from him. And that's really my main point of concern. But as I mentioned earlier in this video as well, this is really what if. This is not anything confirmed and whatnot. And this could also be some lies. And that's one thing I want to pull up here at the end of this video too, to kind of ease the minds of us Bruins fans when it comes to this. And this is coming from this screenshot here on Twitter from Colby Cohen, former NHL player, Boston Bruin. The Swayman reports are incorrect, he says. The sides are taking their time to arrive at a deal, but people freaking out because they think he asked for $10 million should rest easy, because that's not the ask. And this comes in response to that Twitter account there. Surely people will take these reports, to being the $10 million report about Swayman's contract, very calmly and not overreact at all. And to be fair, I haven't really seen too many overreactions. They were all kind of reasonable for what we're looking at from an outside standpoint. But we have to wonder what Colby Cohen is, or where I should say he's getting this information from. Whether or not he has a source on the inside, whether or not he's discussing some of these, negotiations with someone who's at least involved with them, and why this is really getting out there, if not true. And, I hope it's not. Jeremy Swayman obviously wanted to get paid, but $10 million, it's not really reasonable at this moment for the Boston Bruins. So let me know what you think about this contract. Let me know what you think about the negotiation and mainly the $10 million. And do you think that this is all lies, or is it reasonable? I got to think that $10 million was at least on the table at some point. Have the Bruins rejected it? I sure hope so. But we don't know now until we see this pen on paper, as I mentioned, in just about every video. We won't know until it's over. But right now, that's all I got in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. As I mentioned, nearly at 4K. And if we could hit that before the season, that would be absolutely unreal. But like I said, that's all I got. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.